Dark Souls is Knack, basically.
Hello, welcome to episode 91 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name's John Denton. With me as always, Chet Roivas.
Hello.
So, you know the deal by now. We've done 91 episodes. We've actually done 93. Two top 10 lists. 10 being the game we played the least this week. 1 being the game we played the most. Let's do this thing, Chet.
Okay, all right. My number 10 is an iOS game called Icycle, on thin ice. Icycle spelt with a Y, so it's Icycle.
Okay.
This has been getting some very good reviews, and my girlfriend has been on at me for a solid week saying that I had to play it, and I was ready to love it, but I'll speak about it again next week because I played it today, and it has a fantastic opening. You play as this guy called Dennis, and he's just a naked man with a mustache and a woolly hat on a very small bicycle, and the opening is like a James Bond credits pastiche. Is great. All you do is move from left to right and jump, and after a couple of levels you pick up an umbrella so you glide around as well. It looks really great. It's done in a kind of pop art style. The lead guy, the main character, is really likable. He looks kind of like Luigi, and he's got some funny sound bites, and his eyes always darting around the place. It's a really charming game, but it's hard, and I mean hard in a way. There was just too much trial and error. I think the problem is that I played it after playing consoles all day, so I was kind of pressing it like it wasn't a button, and it's got a very, very delicate control style, so right. I wasn't playing it in the right environment. But by all accounts, by everybody who's played it says it's absolutely wonderful. My girlfriend has not shut up about it for a second, so I'll go back to it and I'll speak about it next week.
What was it? Ice? I forgot what it's called already.
Icycle.
Okay.
On thin ice.
That's right, I knew there was a little bit, yeah. Talking of games with slightly stupid names then, or punny names, Guacamelee is my number 10. I've just played a little bit more. I'm actually going to smash it up tomorrow, in fact, or today, and if you're listening today, because I'll be on a train to come and see you. And so I'm going to smash more up. But it's really very, very good. I don't know if you've had a chance to play it at all.
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
So last week I kind of started it and did the first 45 minutes or so and was into it, but then the more I played it, it seems to be split up into almost temples. I guess it does follow that Metroid/Castlevania mold to the letter almost. And I got through the first proper temple, and it has all these like portals where you teleport between things in a light and dark world, and everything about it is just really good, really clever. The controls are fantastic. The combat is. The combat's really fun. You're just smashing everything up, racking up combos, grappling, suplexing guys into other guys, rolling through them to parry. It seems like a really, really well-made game, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it can keep up with the ideas. It's thrown a bunch at me already. They're not ideas that I've never seen, but to be fair, some of the stuff where you're changing between light and dark worlds, and a portal will appear in the light world that's not in the dark world, so you have to like slide down a wall, jump, switch worlds, hit the portal. I mean, that was cool. I've not played that in anything else. And I'll tell you what I did like about it. Most games these days will hold your hand for the first few hours, for rightly or wrongly, but quite rightly in this case for Drinkbox, they know that if you're playing Guacamelee, that you're probably of a certain age and that you've played a lot of these games before and you know how to play video games. So they don't fuck about with a long tutorial or anything like that. They get the controls out of the way in 2 minutes, and then they rank the difficulty up nice and hard straight away. So the game's a challenge from, pretty much from the off. Not in an annoying way or an uncomfortable way. It's just, it's a nice, challenging game straight away. You don't have to play it for 3 hours for it to start to get tricky. So, looking forward to going back to it. And, it's free on PS Plus, on Vita, and PS3, in fact, at the moment, if you hadn't realised that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I still know nothing about it. So, apart from what you've said, I don't know what it looks like. It's on my Vita, so I'll play it before next week.
Yeah, I very much think it's your cup of tea.
Okay, cool. Wicked. Okay, my number 9 is Ryse, Son of Rome on the Xbox One. I spoke about it last week. I I think I realised, but I wasn't. I wasn't really interested in the fact that it had multiplayer. But me and a mate got together and played the multiplayer.
There's a multiplayer in it, is it?
There is a multiplayer. Yeah, it's basically a 2-player co-op. It's not the campaign. Okay. It's separate 2-player co-op missions. It's incredibly simple. You and your mate walk out into a coliseum, and you're basically in a coliseum like Gladiator, except there's all these moving platforms and stuff, and you have to entertain the crowd, and you do this by fighting people or pressing LB to taunt. And it's just a series of very, very small missions. Like some you have to hold objectives, like in like a Battlefield game or something. While there's a siege. Other ones you have to run up to stuff and sort of tip hot lava over. It's the simple. And a lot of the time it just says kill them all, and then there's loads of people. It's kind of horde with a few objectives here and there, and it's incredibly simple. I suppose you could say it's disposable, but it's a really nice and enjoyable extension of the main game. We really enjoyed it. It's still dumb. It's just dumb stuff that you've seen 100 times before, but it's slick, it works. And I was going to say, like I said last week, it was the quintessential launch game, but then I remembered that I didn't say that about this. I said that about Crimson Dragon. So I guess, if anything, that sort of illustrates that you can't really define a launch game that easily. But I've played games like this. I couldn't think of any off the top of my head. They look amazing. They're a little bit thin, but we've really enjoyed playing it. Our half hour, 40 minutes on actually, it was probably over an hour on the multiplayer side of things. It was just really good fun. It's just rubbish. I will say this, though. I didn't mention this last week. As great as Ryse looks, and I think it's the best looking Xbox One game, first of all, when you put the disc in, it installs it, and that takes anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. And then you start the game, and then you click on campaign, and then another loading wheel comes up, and that took 22 minutes.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, so all in, it's like maybe just over half an hour before I'd even started the game. I forgot to mention that.
So you can't jump in like you can on some
you
games?
Can't. No, not at all. And it's actually, I mean, normally you're just sitting on the dashboard while that's installed. And here you're actually looking at like a Roman sculpture with this sort of wheel going. Anyway, it's half an hour to get into the game. So next gen.
That's piss.
Yeah, it's not great, but the Ryse Son of Rome is pretty damn good, and it's fun, and co-op's good.
Yeah, I do actually want to play it. Yeah, like you say, nice looking dumbass stuff.
Yeah,
I dig a bit of that, a bit of limb hackage.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so last week you did the Xbox One as one of your 10, right? So I'm going to do the PS4 now because every game from up until the end of my list is actually a PS4 game.
Oh wow!
So I got the machine on Friday. My boy Rocky. He eventually delivered it at 3:00 because you got the name of the DPD delivery driver. So it was Rocky, and I embarrassed myself slightly because I was getting myself so hyped up by this guy because you can watch him on the map, and he was really close to my house for hours, but he obviously had a ton of deliveries to do. And right towards within the last 20 minutes, I just put a tweet out saying like Rocky's so close or something, and somebody tweeted back just a clip of the stairs scene from Rocky. And just that scene, so I just clicked that on YouTube, and it was just it was perfect. So I just watched it over and over again, and then I had it cranked full blast because it said it had 2 deliveries left till it got me. So I had it cranked full blast on my laptop, which is loud enough, and I was standing in my office with my arms in the air, jumping around in a circle, and then I heard a knock at the back door, and it was Rocky. Now, he must have heard the music. There was no two ways. It was way too loud. He must have heard the music. No, I don't know why. I'm miles away from my front door, so I just assumed he was coming from my front door. So when I went to then answer it, I just looked quite sheepish, and he knew, and I knew, but it didn't matter because I got the PS4. So all is well. But good on Rocky. He didn't look like the real Rocky though. Bit disappointing there. Yeah. Less disappointing though. The PS4 itself. I'm blown away by this machine, to be honest, mate. I'm absolutely blown away by it. It's so slick. Just from the design of the actual box itself, which is small and there's no external power brick. The pad, which is a fucking beautiful pad. I think it might be the new benchmark for pads. Like the sticks are amazing, the triggers are lovely, the handles are nice. It feels nice. And then the dashboard is just so much better than the PS3s. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Nice, clean design. It's not throwing adverts in your face like Xbox, which is nice. You've got your main game list that goes from left to right. really simple to use. Whack up on the D-pad, and you've got your options and different things like that. Just really impressed. Stick a disc in, it starts installing straight away. Every game that I've played, you can be playing it within a minute or so. Downloads work fine. The initial download for me, at least, 300 megabytes was over in a matter of seconds, the update one. And on launch day, PSN was down for a few hours, but I think in the olden days that would have been it. It would have been down all weekend if it had been PS3. But to be fair to them, they had it up and working again for me by 5 p.m. and it's been spot on ever since. I've not really had any trouble with it at all since then. I just really like it, man. I really, really like it. I mean, we'll talk about the games in a minute, but just as a piece of kit, it feels fucking powerful. It feels new. I love the sharing stuff. I'll talk about that later as well. If I was to pick a few tiny little issues with it, I would say the pad runs out of charge too quickly. The notifications are fiddly in that you'll get a notification, say, for a friend's request, and it takes way too many button presses to get to the friend's request. A similar problem to what the PS3 had, but not the end of the world. Just it seems like something they'll hopefully patch to streamline that. And the main problem, of course, is the fucking headset that you get with it, which is an atrocious piece of shit. A little one-ear mono earbud with a microphone in the wire, which is so bad. I mean, God knows what I sound like when I'm speaking through it, but I've heard other people on it, and you can hear their pad clacking, you can hear their TV, but you can barely hear them. It's so bad. I'm amazed they even bothered to include it, to be honest, but if that's the worst thing that I can say about the console, then it must be doing something right.
I also got one on launch day thanks to the game. Somehow they still had bundles left at like 3 p.m. on the day before, on the Thursday, and I managed to get one containing Knack, which I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, it's almost the polar opposite of the Xbox One. It keeps everything simple, and whenever I thought, why is that? Whenever I felt like something was a little bit difficult or unintuitive, it wasn't. It was just I wasn't looking in the right place, or I wasn't doing the right thing. Now that I'm used to the machine, I mean, it is night and day between the Xbox One. The thing is, if Microsoft don't remedy those problems, it's going to be so easy. There's no choice, really. It's a machine that's, at this point, regardless of the games, because it's so different. It's fast and it's just simple, and you can get straight in. Ripping a disc, does it rip the whole disc? When you put a disc in for the first time, that progress bar goes up.
Yeah. I think it
alarmingly quickly.
It installs what it needs to install. I don't know. I don't think it rips the whole disc.
Okay.
But it might do, I don't know.
Sitting for half an hour waiting to play a game versus what this was, when I put Battlefield in and when I put Killzone in, it's just less than a minute, I think. I mean, obviously...
Yeah, it's still installing behind that, but it does let you jump straight in.
Oh, so it's probably the same thing, where it gets what it needs to, and then you can play it, and it sort of downloads in the background.
Yeah, that's right.
Installs in the background. Okay.
But yeah, every game that I've put in, it's done that really, really well.
Really quickly, yeah. The initial update was quite slow. It took me about an hour, but they were having problems on launch day, weren't they? They said that people were having trouble downloading that 300 meg.
I think when you tried to do it, they were having specific problems with that at that time, like just for that hour and a half or something. Because like I said, when I put it on, it was as I was turning the PS4 on for the first time, it was already downloading that thing, and by the time I actually brought up the screen for that download, it was basically done. So I was shocked by that. Yeah.
I'm incredibly impressed. The pad is great. It's very even more so than the difference between the PS3 pad and the Xbox 360 pad. The difference between the PS4 pad and the Xbox One pad is quite stark. So going between them is, I mean, I played Battlefield with you briefly, and the jump was very, very, because you have to hold the Xbox One at such an awkward angle. Your sort of trigger fingers are where the bumpers are on the other. It's not going to be as seamless moving between the machines as it was last gen.
Right.
I take it you didn't get the camera with yours.
No, I didn't. No, I'm going to get one, but I haven't got it yet.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice enough. I mean, £60 is a bit of a problem. I mean, it does do voice commands surprisingly well. I mean,
you can do that with the headset as well.
Oh, can you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, I played around with the camera for a bit. It's a nice enough bit of kit, but £60 seems, unless you're going to use it sort of for streaming.
Well, yeah, that's what I'll use it for.
In that case, then it's better than I thought it was. At the same time as sort of, I don't know if £60. I don't know if it warrants that price tag, but the console is just it's hugely impressive.
Yeah, I barely got a bad word to say about it. I just absolutely love the thing. Absolutely love the thing. I mean, what a jump from the PS3, especially when the PS3 first came out, and you couldn't even go to the XMB from a game, or I mean, that thing was just hanging together with string half the time. I don't understand. I'll never understand what happened then with the PS3. I'd love to know. I know it's Ken Kutaragi went kind of crazy, but yeah, it feels like they feel like a different company now to me since the Vita, PS Plus, and now this. I mean, they really have smashed it.
Yeah,
it's not perfect. There are little niggles, like I said, but I'm nothing to complain about at all. Just constantly impressed by it. Constantly impressed. And then, we'll talk about the games in a minute.
Do you know when they're going to patch in? Because I've got a Bluetooth headset that I used to use for the PS3. Are they patching in compatibility for stuff like that? Aren't they?
They are, yeah. I'm not sure when. They're just rolling stuff out as and when, because they've got the suspend mode's going to be coming at some point, which was promised when they first announced it, but isn't actually in there. You can suspend a game and go to the dashboard, but you can't suspend a game like a Vita, and I believe you can do that on Xbox One.
Suspend a game? What do you mean?
You know, on Vita, where you just press the top button and you send the thing to sleep, and then you can just restart. You press the top button again, and you're straight back into where you were.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can. That was one of the features that they said was going to be in PS4 when they first announced it in February, and it's going to be rolled into the machine. They didn't have it ready for launch, but apparently it is an option on Xbox One already.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'll have to look into that. That sounds like it could come in handy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. The PlayStation 4 is my number 8. So back to you.
Okay. Well, the first PS4 game that I'll talk about then is actually Flower, which was a free download for me because I'd bought the PS3 version when it came out, however many years ago, and yeah, they've done it's kind of, this is another example to me. I don't want this to sound like the Sony show, because all I care about is good games and people doing good things. It just happens to be that's what's coinciding right now, but it feels like with Flower, they did Flower. They're going to be doing Flow. I think that's out already. The Escape Plan. All is. They just updated them, and if you'd already bought them, that you get them for free. I just can't see that Microsoft ever doing something like that. And you go and play Flower, and it's a legitimate update. It's now in 1080p, 60 frames a second, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it really looks like this is how the game should have looked in the first place. The grass is just stunning. It doesn't feel real because it doesn't look real, but the texture to it and everything about it is just stunning. It was always a beautiful game, and it's just been given that extra lease of life. And the controller, it feels like it was designed for that controller. It's just nicer to move around with the gyroscope than the DualShock 3 ever was, and it was just really nice to play through Flower again. I haven't actually finished it again, but I must have played the first 3. It's split into sections, the game, so I think I did the first 3, and I just thought this is absolutely gorgeous, and what a treat, really. What a treat for them to have done that. It's like coming home and someone's made you a cup of tea. You know, it's not anything to go nuts about, but just a really nice little treat.
Yeah, I've never played Flower that much, but I suppose that's a decent excuse. I mean, I have a fit. Was it ever on PS Plus on the PS3?
Probably. It'll end up on there. It will almost definitely end up on there because they don't have enough PS4 games on there right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up there next month.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Here's hoping. I do want to play. I've been looking for an excuse to play that again.
It's very, very nice. Very nice. It was a great game anyway, but great that this will be the first time that you played it properly.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Okay, all right. Well, my number 7 is Tearaway on the PlayStation Vita.
Sweet.
I finished it. Very, very difficult to fault as a game. Just the whole package is very, very hard to. I mean, it was just such a pleasure.
Yeah.
I've for as long as I can remember, since Sony entered the console race and all that stuff, I've always ended up saying things like, "Oh, it's almost like it's." I always compare things to Nintendo games because Nintendo games are often at the sort of peak, especially in platformers. They do tend to reach this high watermark but they're not the only players in the field anymore. So it's kind of seems superfluous to make that connection.
I know what you mean. There.
It is this. I couldn't help but think of the best Nintendo games, and it's almost you said when you spoke about it that it couldn't have existed on any other console, and that's true. And it's weird because that seems almost like that's always at the top of the agenda with Nintendo games because almost all of their best games couldn't have been made on any other platform.
Yeah.
So that was unusual seeing a game that's so specifically a Vita game, which doesn't often happen. And if it does, sometimes the sort of the features are used sort of for no real reason. But yeah, it's a really joyous game. Something about the way they've made it this freewheeling. It's you feel like you're kind of open to you just career through it, and if you're sort of a gamer and you're programmed to always wonder what you've left behind or what you can find, then you can still do that. But it's almost as if there's a million ways through it. But almost like a child wandering through it, kind of looking around, but always finding the path. I don't know how they've done it because it's not linear. There are sort of different places to go, and there are collectibles everywhere, but the collectibles can be sort of downloaded, and you can make that sort of papercraft. They're often papercraft models, so I'd say they're perhaps the most worthwhile collectibles ever if you want them.
Yeah, and the other stuff is you can translate that into items. You can buy items to put on your little dude or girl, can't you? So even that stuff's not tat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost certainly the best game that I've played on the Vita, and it's so hard to describe, but you feel like you're flying through it, and you don't feel guided, but at the same time you always find your way. I just found that quite marvellous because that rarely happens. You know, especially for someone who is programmed to constantly be looking around and be aware of your surroundings, so you can go back later or whatever. And it's short, but it's the perfect length. It's, you know, in a medium that's all about wasted seconds. There's barely a wasted second in the entire thing. It's just exemplary. Also, I forgot to mention this last time I spoke about it, but it has the best level of any game I've played this year. I mean, the best fight, I think it's only 5 to 10 minutes long. I should say it's a section of a level rather than an entire level, but where the camera starts flying around and it's almost like Uncharted and you're running towards the screen, these things are chasing you.
I think you did mention that last week, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah.
And you're quickly unwinding all those bent metal cords and running up the glue. Oh, it's just amazing. That's the best 10 minutes of gaming I've done all year, no question. But yeah, it's the game of the Vita. You have to play it.
You've got to play it if you've got a Vita, and £20 as well, which is just a joke.
They didn't have to do that.
No, they didn't. I mean, it's not the longest game in the world, but it still wouldn't feel remotely out of place as a £35 Vita game, whatever full price Vita games cost, £30 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but I loved it.
And the ending, I mean, without spoiling it, is just superb.
Yeah, and I just there's no fat on it.
No.
I think we're starting to. I'm glad that people are starting to value that more. I think it was Simon Parkin tweeted something saying, "Is this the first time where we haven't been fixated on running times when we're talking about the best games of the year?" And I think that is changing because that whole movement about how value was sort of inherently tied to how long a game was so detrimental, which is why we have fucking collectibles in every fucking game and just sort of this illusion of length. Tearaway's 5-6 hours long and it's perfect, and I'm going to go back to it.
Yeah, I am as well. Yeah, I'm probably going to leave it a little while until I can forget some of it because a lot of it's still very fresh in my mind, and then just play through it again. For real. Yeah, amazing game. Right, okay. Finally something a little less amazing. Warframe on PS4.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the free-to-play games on PS4 on the PSN store. It seems like this is going to be a fairly prominent thing on PS4, having free-to-play stuff on there. It's launched with Warframe, with the DC Universe Online, which I haven't played, and I think Blacklight Retribution is out now as well. It's fine. I mean, it's kind of cool, in fact, that there's a bunch of free stuff that you can play, but less so when it's Warframe. It's a shame that they've managed to make a game that can rhyme with ball frame, poor frame. I don't want to play it anymore. Frame. It is. I don't know. It's not a very good game. It's a third person. They call it like you're supposed to be a space ninja or something like that. But it's basically a third person shooter, a very, very middle of the road third person shooter, 4-player co-op. And you pick one of 3 ninja suits. They're called Warframes. They're like subtle class differences, but basically the game is get dropped into a level of corridors, shoot everything that's there, and then you can run up to it and hit it with a sword, but there's no lock on or even soft lock with the sword, so you end up just waving your fucking sword past them. That bit's terrible. So most of the time you're just shooting, numbers fly out of them like Borderlands or any other RPG. It's completely inoffensive because, you know, it's like it's free, the online works, you can link up with other people really easily. There seems to be a billion levels. It has this really, really almost upsettingly condescending tutorial for the first 20 minutes where it tells you how to move and how to fire, and then it jumps you out of that and just puts you in this fucking world of menus, none of which is explained. Huge tech trees, crafting system, all these levels across the solar system, absolutely baffling. No idea what any of that meant, but it didn't matter because all you can basically do is jump in a level and shoot things. Some of the missions might be go and find a target and take him back, but all that means is shoot everyone and then find a target, shoot him, and then stand over him and press a button. Most of the levels are just jump in, shoot everyone. I think if you play loads and loads, or you pay loads and loads, there's definitely the option to do that. You can start unlocking different abilities. The combat kind of feels like Mass Effects, but without the commands, just kind of basic third person. Except there's no cover, actually, so that's probably not the best example. It's more like the enemies look a bit like Mass Effect enemies. But it's a free-to-play game, and it's not yelling at you to spend money at any point, really. It's all there if you want to spend money on stuff, if you get really into it. Apparently, it's sort of maxing out on... It's been in PC since March, and it's got a good, steady user base on there. About 15,000 a day playing at any one time, which is pretty good. Apparently, it's making money. I'm sure it'll do reasonable business on PS4 as well. I'd imagine if you were 12 and had no money but somehow had access to a PS4, say it was your big brothers or your dads or something, or your mums, and there's a bunch of free games on there, you'd fucking love Warframe just because there's loads of content and it's just the type of thing you just play. But for someone who values their time, as we were just talking about, not highly recommended, but inoffensive. It's completely inoffensive.
Well, it sounds dull as fuck.
It is dull, but it's like at no point did it make me angry or not angry, but even frustrated, because it was easy to play. It just felt like it wasn't ever asking me for anything. It felt like it just sort of knocked on the door and was just like, hey, I don't know, I've got this if you want it, and it's just brought you around a lasagna or something, but it's like a not Fisher Price, like a Findus lasagna. You don't really want it, but it was a nice offer. But... it's actually made by Digital Extremes, who made The Darkness 2.
Really?
Yeah. But they also made the new Star Trek game.
I will play that at some point because I'm a sucker for bad movie tie-ins. But I have heard that this was okay. I mean, that just sounds fucking
okay.
boring.
It's like a 5 out of 10 game.
Oh, rubbish. Oh, I've got it. I'll play it very briefly.
I was reading the comments on the Eurogamer review, and one guy was like, yeah, this game's not very good. I've put 500 hours into it. And I was like, what? I don't think I've ever put 500 hours into anything.
Yeah. To
do it on a game that's not very good? What do these people do? I don't understand.
I don't know. Well, I mean, one thing I know he does is exaggerate.
Well, yeah, that's true.
How long's the game been out?
Oh, well, it's been out since March on PC. He was talking about the PC version.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right. But PS4 owners are very strange people. Did you read the comments in your review of the new Battlefield maps?
Which one? China Rising or
the most recent? The China Rising.
I read some of them. Yeah.
But I mean, curious because everyone's just kind of talking about faults with Battlefield, and the amount of people that are saying, "I own a PlayStation 4 and I've played this game for 6,000 years, and I'm telling you, it's never faulted once. Why are you saying it's faulted?" And
yeah.
But Sony is like. People get almost patriotic about Sony. It's so bizarre.
There is a serious tribalism situation, and I think especially as they've been the kind of downtrodden tribe for the last 6 years. Stupid people can't separate. It's like stupid football fans. They can't understand that they don't actually hate the same team from down the road. But it's just, it's tribalism going back to what we're built for however many thousands of years ago. But anyone with a brain can kind of look past it. It's fun to be on team this, team that for a minute, but I'm not going to get into a fight with someone who likes another football team or a different console because I've got a brain in my head. But unfortunately, it seems that some people don't.
Yeah, that's always baffled me. I thought it maybe might change. Maybe I'm just not seeing both sides of it. But people supporting Sony, everything they do, loudly, blindly, it's just like wow. It's worth a look. There are other comments where
if Sony does continue in the way that they have been in terms of massive sales, grabbing a lot of the Xbox players over, I think we'll see a lot of the Xbox guys start talking like that as well.
Brilliant. That's what we need.
But it's been like that since we were kids.
It hasn't really been this. I mean, the Mega Drive SNES things is different, but this whole Sony thing that's been going on through the entirety of the PS3's run has just been baffling because you don't even have to pick a fight. It's automatically just, how dare you suggest that the PlayStation 4 is not the most superior? I've played it forever and there's nothing wrong with it, God damn it. I mean, it's just, I still don't understand it. And there are entire places on the internet where you just go and all it is people like that. I don't understand. But hey-ho.
Yeah, just be glad we're not one of them, or two of them.
Yeah, true that. Okay, my number 6 is a PS4 game. It is Killzone Shadowfall.
Okay.
Is this on your list?
Yeah, this is my number 6. Have I done 11 games? No, that's my number 4, sorry.
Okay, let's leave it till then.
Okay. So back to me.
Mm-hmm.
My number... Where are we now? Sorry, I've not numbered my list as always.
That was my 6.
So this is my 6. My 6 is Battlefield 4.
Okay.
You're going to talk about that later, or should we talk about it now?
Okay, let's talk about that later as well.
Let's just leave everything till the end.
Okay, it's my number 4 anyway.
All right.
Fuck, my number 5 is blatantly going to be your number 1. It's Resogun.
This is my number 2.
All right, let's leave that until then.
All right. I bet my next one is going to be later on your list. We are going to just basically have to spout shit for ages at the end. Like normal. Right, my number 5 then is Knack. Can we talk about Knack?
Let's get it out of the way.
All right, Knack. I already know that you don't like it. I actually really enjoyed it. I went in expecting to hate it. I've had a kind of like comic liking for this game for the last few weeks because just everybody hates it. It clearly isn't a very good game for many reasons, and for some reason I just kind of I was all about Knack for a minute, and then you played it, I heard it was shit from you on a text, and I stuck it on, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to stream it. I'd streamed a few things already on Twitch, which I must say is an absolute piece of piss to set up on PS4. I set up my account the day before it came out on the website, which took it's the same as setting up an account on anything. Linked it to the PS4 account in seconds, and then if you want to stream anything, you hit the share button, move along to broadcast, give your streamer name, and you're streaming. It's so easy that even I can do it. And it feels easy to me. I mean, anybody could do it, genuinely. Anyway, so I decided to stream Knack, put a tweet out, I'm streaming Knack, come watch. And for maybe 3 or 4 people were watching me for a bit. And I don't know, I was just trying to crack jokes about it and just play it. And then suddenly it was like 10 people, 15 people, 20 people. And by the end, I played the game for about 3 hours. But by the end, I had nearly 50 people watching me play Knack. And I thought, what the hell is it? This is the future. Why are these people watching me play Knack? I have no idea. And I kept thinking, what if they're in my house? Could you imagine? Imagine 50 people just standing behind you watching you play Knack. Yeah. But that's what was happening. And it definitely... Let's put it like this. There's always been talk about when companies put on review events, right, and how that might subconsciously affect a review when they're in a nice situation, they've got a free beer next to them, you know, they're playing in a nice set of circumstances. That's what these events are set up. I've never felt that it's affected my judgment because I've always found those events a bit of a pain in the arse. They're fun for a bit and then they're a bit of a nightmare. But you can't know for 100%. But what I can say, almost definitely, that my enjoyment of Knack was massively enhanced by playing it alongside people watching me. Because quite quickly people started chatting to me in the comments, loads of different people. And so you just start having a dialogue with the people that you're playing it with, and that just made the whole thing fun. And the reason it was fun is because the game is so fucking... I couldn't believe how hard it was. I just could not believe how hard it was. The guy, Knack, just dies in 1 or 2 hits. Doesn't matter how big he is, he just dies in 1 or 2 hits. And the enemies die in 1 or 2 hits as well. And I thought, what is this game? But I must say, I started to enjoy it. I don't know why. It was so simple. You go into a room, there's some enemies, they follow standard attack patterns. You try not to get killed, you dodge their attacks, and you hit them. But there was something about the satisfaction of actually hitting them. Knack's basically a boxer. And I don't know, I just found it satisfying when you really wallop them and you can kick the fuck out of things quite quickly. And yeah, I mean, it's not something I can't see me finishing it or anything like that, but I was expecting it to be terrible, and I liked it, but I've got a feeling that you liked it a lot less.
I hated it.
Yeah.
How far did you get?
I'm on chapter 3, I think. So
Okay,
reasonably far.
I think I've just done the boss on 3.5. So I got there and I thought, okay, I checked the trophies and it said that there was a trophy for Doom World 11.5, and I just thought, no way.
Yeah, there's 13 chapters.
Fuck that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to get to the end of it.
When it started, I thought, oh, it's taken a knock for how it looks by a lot of people, but it's actually. I kind of like the way it looks.
I thought it looked really nice.
They've kind of taken all of the detail off the characters so that the cutscenes, they flow a lot more like animation, and everything looks chunky and kind of plasticky. And I was like, this.
I thought it looked nice, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not unhappy about the way this looks. And the conceit it's bollocks.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's about all these relics, and there's a source of it. Anyway, it's a very, very mild. Well, I say it's mild. It's mild in ambition, but it's rock fucking hard. Like a side scroll, not side scrolling, like a scrolling brawler. It's very much like a Lego game. Back before they had really great puzzles and invention and wit. Back to the earlier level Lego games, it harks back to those, but it's far shitter. The fixed camera is annoying because the first things that started happening to me is that the fixed camera kept meaning that I was dying because I was being attacked by enemies off screen. But yeah, if you're going to play this game, first of all, don't play it. I don't care what kind of completist you are, or if you're looking for something to play with your kids, buy Lego Marvel 100 times over rather than buy this. I knew that I was not in good hands quite early on because there was a bit where I walked up a ladder and there was an archer there, instant death, and I was like, okay. So you go back 90 seconds of gameplay, and if you get hit once and then climb up the ladder, every single time you can't avoid the arrow, you just die. Sometimes Knack can get hit once, sometimes he can get hit twice, sometimes he can get hit 3 times. There's no point in there being this tiny little life bar on the top. You might as well just have numbers that say, because it never tells you.
Yeah.
I mean, you build yourself up by picking up these blocks, and the noise that the pad makes is exactly the same noise that Lego sound makes when you build things. And sometimes you build your guy up, Knack up, and you assume that you've built yourself up so maybe you can take more hits, but sometimes you can and sometimes you can't.
I just assumed that I couldn't take any hits at any point. He was feeble.
But the AI of the enemies is like, you say that there's scripted attack patterns. If you do, that's the other thing. It's a game about special moves where it doesn't want you to do those special moves because you have this sort of these crystals that you use as a source of energy, and then you can do these sort of super moves that aren't really that super. But it takes so fucking long to build up to enough to just even do one.
Yeah, I know. It's so hard.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to play it, and I mean, if you're somehow in a scenario where there's a gun to your head and you have to play it, make sure you play it on easy because it's.
I don't know. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the combat, the basic combat.
I don't understand how, because there is a slight unpredictability to it. So there'd be one bit where you kill 2 enemies in a field and there's nothing around, and then you progress, and then you get killed and it'll throw you straight back to the same bit, and then you can't get past it. And I'm like, this is just 2 guys, and I can't get past it because.
I just felt the whole time that I was playing, I was like, this is a war. Like, this is. I said it multiple times on the stream. I just kept screaming, "This is Dark Souls. This game is Dark Souls." There was a bit where you walked, and then a bunch of spikes just appeared and just killed me. And then I walked a bit further, and the fucking ground fell out beneath me, and I fell into a spike trap.
Yeah.
And with no warning. I was like, "Why is this game? This isn't a kid's game."
No, it's not.
But I kind of got into how hard it was, and I think it was because people were having a laugh with me on the stream. If I'd been playing it on my own, just off my own back with no interaction with anybody else, I'm sure I would have given up before I had. But as it is, I'm probably going to stream some more after recording this because it was actually tremendous fun to do that. But just a few more things about the story. I mean, I don't really know what the story's about. Some goblins have come or something. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But right at the beginning of the game, they're all in a conference room and they're discussing what the best method of attack is to kill these things. And they decide it's not going to be the robots, it's not going to be this, it's going to be Knack. We made Knack. And they come to that decision because they make Knack run through some weird maze that they made for him. Fuck knows what that's all about. They made some sort of funhouse maze, and they're like, okay, yeah, no, this guy's best. And then it's clearly not the best, is he? Because he's weak as shit.
Yeah.
He can take one hit, and this guy's got an army of robots. Let's send the army of robots out. Absolutely 100% send the army of robots out. Don't send this one guy that's made out of triangles that can take one hit. Why does he sound like a black American guy who's about 40 years old?
I was going to say, it's like at the last moment, in a panic, they said, God, this amazingly twee child's game, we've got to try and sort of nail the demographic for like the young teenagers or something. So they make him sound like Vin Diesel or something. It's just like completely, it doesn't fit in the slightest.
Why is it Rampage Naxon?
Fucking hell. But yeah, that was just. I mean, he sounds like a real tough. It's this twee game where everyone talks like it's a kids' movie, and then you've got this tough guy in the centre who looks like. I mean,
it looks like a bunch of fucking floating Doritos.
Yeah, exactly right.
But I don't know. I was just getting a kick out of it. And the best thing is that at all times you're being followed by one of the other people from the cast who do fuck all at all times. Yeah. The Doctor keeps turning up behind you. One, why don't they try and kill the Doctor? Two, at least try. Get a gun. Chuck a rock. Do something. Just nothing. I don't get it. I don't get why Knack exists, but I still kind of like it. I can't seem to get into chapter 13 though.
Okay, well, I found it really, I found it truly offensive because it's the kind. I honestly, that's the word that kept popping up. It was just it felt like it was assembled either so briskly or so. But I don't believe this was any. I don't believe they sat down and said we want to make a rock hard game that looks like it's going to appeal to. I mean, this is just. I found it really, really aggravating and offensive. It's linear. It's bland. And the only potentially interesting thing is the difference between the short Knack and the tall one, and the combat is actually slightly different, but they don't really play on that. It's just nothing. You're still walking in and hammering a button. I'll say exactly what I said to you last night. It is 200,000 difficulty spikes in search of a game. It's fucking awful. I can't believe you. I mean, it must be Twitch. That's it. Try playing it without it and see what happens.
I'm not going. I'll never play Knack without Twitch. I'll never play Knack without Twitch. And like I said, I will never. If I'm ever having to review a game, I'm not going to ever stream it as a. Not that you would anyway, but I know for a fact that coloured my enjoyment of what I was doing. But that's the experience I had.
Okay, I hated it so much. I'm tempted to try it again just to see if I was in a bad state of mind or like a bad mood or like. I
don't know. I mean, I must say I went in with the approach almost from the first level that this is fucking properly hard and I can't take a single second of it for granted or I'm going to get killed. And going in with that attitude, I don't know. Like the timing on the combat and when you actually just step out of the way and attack and then bam, bam, bam. I don't know. I thought it was right.
Those auto lock on arrows, and if you try and do a move to retaliate, it takes like 4 seconds, by which time you've been hit by an arrow. I mean, honest to fucking God. It's just bad. It's poor. It's fucking poor. But yeah, less said about Knack, the better. But maybe talk about it next week and how you've seen the light about how shit it was.
More than likely. Right. More than likely.
Okay, God, I don't know what we do now. I go back to my 5, which is your 2, so we'll knock that out. My number batters. You've spoken about batters. What was?
No, we didn't speak about that.
No, I know we didn't speak about it. But what number was that of yours?
Fuck knows.
Okay, it's okay. Fuck it. All right. My number 4 is Battlefield 4 on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. I played them both quite a lot, and I'll say that the difference between the two versions is largely negligible at the same time as being completely noticeable. The PlayStation 4 version is smoother. The fire and the debris, they're nowhere near as wishy-washy. It's the better version. There's no question of it. I did a bit of the campaign again. If you're an Xbox One owner and I think there really isn't a whole lot in it, but it's definitely the version I'd rather be playing. But having said that, I play on 360, but Xbox One. Sorry, the transition is not smooth between. I've spoken about this already. The pad. The PlayStation pad, I kept using the bumpers.
I did that at first, mainly because that's what it was on all PS3 games. The triggers were on. Gunfire was on L1 and R1 as opposed to L2 and L2, wasn't it?
That's I never thought about that. Yeah, that probably plays a part as well. So it took me a little longer to get used to it, but and it's a shame that if you have the same Origin sign in, that it doesn't carry across to different. Because it would be great if I could have premium on both formats. But if my loadouts and all my progress was saved, that would be great. But yeah, if you're thinking that happens, it doesn't. So what did you think?
Yeah, I do. Like, it's difficult because I was kind of blown away by how good it looked. I've talked about having played the Xbox One version, and I thought this looked sort of noticeably better for me, but I have to caveat again, I was way too close to a giant screen on the Xbox One version, which is going to make, I could sit that close to my screen at home, which isn't as big, and any game will look a bit sketchy. But it did, to me, look a fair bit better. At times, on multiplayer, it was when I was playing with you, you just stop and go, fucking hell, that just looks ridiculous, and then keep playing, which is really what I want from next gen, especially like first couple of weeks. Obviously, Battlefield 4, when it works and you're in a good game and you're not getting spawn killed and it's going well, there's very little to beat it, in that space. We know this. And the Battlefield 4 is a further example of that. I have still had a lot of issues, though. I've been kicked from games so many times after... getting kicked as you're loading the game in is one thing. Getting kicked after 30 seconds is one thing. Getting kicked after about 15 to 18 minutes of a properly tense game and just booted back to dashboard for no reason, that's a killer.
Yeah.
Because you're losing all your fucking unlocks and everything. I've lost so much progress already just from having that happen to me over and over again. And it makes me not want to play the game until it's fixed. And obviously, it's still that stupid situation where the servers aren't working. Well, they were, it's showing that they've got no players, and all that stuff is annoying. I actually did try the campaign. I played the first level. It's dull as shit. The AI, sweet Jesus, the AI, just guys, like, it looks nice enough, and the destruction's good and everything. And of course, it looks nice enough. It looks great, but the fucking guy's just running left to right across the battlefield in front of you. It's like it's like fucking apocalypto, shit. And then when I tried to continue it hadn't saved, so I had to start again with the fucking Bonnie Tyler, and I was like, I'm tapping out. That's never getting played. But yeah, shall I talk about some of the DLC packs?
Well, yeah, let's talk about Second Assault, because I suppose you haven't played it anymore, but you played it initially, didn't you?
Yes, I played Second Assault. So that's the Battlefield 3 maps that have come back. Remind me, that's the one that's out now on both machines. Is that right?
I don't think. I think at the moment, it's only out on Xbox One.
That's right. They've delayed it on PS4 because it's just not working or something.
Yeah, well, when the DLC came out, it was impossible to find a game. I found a couple of matches of Metro on 64-player Conquest, but that was it, because obviously it all says the servers are empty.
Yeah.
Which needs to be their first thing that they need to fix. But I managed to sit in on a Rush server that somehow got going the other day, so I played through all of them. And yeah, those are. They're all good maps apart from Firestorm, which I've never really been that keen on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, same as you. Yeah, I'm not. The Firestorm has always felt a bit bland and flat and a bit pipey.
Yeah, I'm the same. Operation Firestorm. I always kind of want to bail whenever it comes out on a roster. So yeah, it's better now. It's more colourful. I'm a big fan of Metro. So Metro is a lot better. Not a lot better because it was always great, but the way that they've made it, the way that they've improved it is quite smart. It looks nicer. It's greener. There's less visibility, even outside as well. There's just debris everywhere. Which is quite nice. There's extra hiding spots all the way through the level. There's extra pathways as well once you get inside, which is great. And the whole thing looks much more like a war zone than it did in Battlefield 3. Yeah. And the Levolution, I don't think... Is there anything aside from the fact that when you're outside, the grass can catch fire, which is really neat?
No, inside, if you shoot out some of the supports, the ceiling will come down.
Oh, great. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
You played Metro as well, then?
I played all of them. Yeah, I've played all 8 DLC maps that exist so far. Yeah, but there's proper Levolution in all the Second Assault maps. So you've got that on Metro. The ceiling comes in. On Caspian Border, you can destroy the radio tower in the middle, which you said you could do on Battlefield 3, which I never actually saw, but I think is a bit more exciting now. Gulf of Oman's an awesome storm, and. What's the other one? Firestorm. Firestorm, the Levolution is a bit piss. It's just you can shoot all the pipes and create flame traps, but that one's quite shit.
Yeah, to be honest, I saw that and I just thought it was. It wasn't like the fire in Metro where it actually changed the game. It was just kind of, Yeah, I thought that was a bit wet, but yeah, Gulf of Oman, the Levolution on that with the Hurricane is great because it's almost like the gunships in Armored Kill. It kind of unbalances the team in favour of the attackers, but it's not as drastic as those gunships in Armored Kill because I think that was a bit too much.
Yeah.
But it's a good test of teamwork. It's when it happens, it's really really good. And the map's slightly bigger with the extra players on Rush and Conquest. You use the beaches a lot more, so you see more of the map, and there are a lot more tactical options, which is really great. And Caspian Border is more or less the same, but it's kind of autumnal, loads of brown. Everything looks kind of it's the same great map, but there's also at the beginning there's that massive wall with the sort of barriers. It's like a checkpoint. That's because you have snipers on the top and you can blow chunks of it off. That's really cool. I basically think it's a great map pack, but it's just basically impossible at this point to get into a game on it. I've done it a couple of times, but that's it.
Yeah, well, that's the nightmare, isn't it? And then, there's China Rising as well, which I believe is out now on Xbox One, is it?
It's that, isn't it? That's PS4 as well, isn't it?
Is it on both? I'm getting so confused. All the different versions, premium, not premium, exclusives here, not exclusives there. But anyway, I played this at the same time as Second Assault at EA. I'll just quickly give a rundown of the 4 maps. It's a strange pack. I mean, we didn't play... to really get an understanding of a Battlefield map, you need to play it for weeks, if not months. It's like a football game, isn't it? And then naturally tactics will evolve and choke points will naturally happen. The map design is designed in a certain way, but it's not like a Call of Duty map where you have very specific angles and lines of sight and choke points. They exist, but I always find a Battlefield map is more like a suggestion of what you could do here, and then the players will take control of what it'll end up being. So that's very much the case in China Rising. So 4 maps based in China. The first one I'll talk about is called Silk Road, which is set in the desert. It's a bunch of sand dunes, and then in the middle is like a very, very flat military base. It kind of looks like that tiny map in Call of Duty 4. Do you remember that really, really tiny map in COD 4?
Right. Yeah, I think I know the one you mean.
It looks like that. It's a bit bigger, but it's just basically a COD map in the middle of a Battlefield map. It's kind of a weird choice. I think it's designed for people to play team deathmatch and domination and things in it. I don't rate it as a map. It might be a situation where you play a lot of Conquest and Rush on it and it starts to take on different form, and what I played of it wasn't actually everything that it can be, but certainly what I played of it, I thought it was a really weak map, too flat, too many opportunities to camp, very much like an infantry-based map. It didn't really feel like a Battlefield map. Next one after that is called Altai Range, which is a wicked map. We played Conquest on that, and it has a huge mountain in the middle, and then that has a capture point on it, and it overlooks all the rest of the capture points, so you can kind of snipe and overwatch them all from there. And there's a kind of the balance of power between having people on the ground trying to capture stuff and having, trying to control the mountain, basically. So that's a nice, it's kind of like a specialised map, and that's kind of cool. There's a jungle map called Guilin Peaks, I believe it's called, if that's right. That's okay. It has this really, really hectic choke point in the middle where it's like a tunnel on top of a hill, and you can go around it, but it's much easier to go through it if you're trying to get somewhere quickly. But it just kind of turns into a wood chipper. It's a bit like the, Metro where the ticket things are, where you'd put your ticket in. It's just rockets. Yeah. So it's kind of like that, but because we're also at the point where you're trying to learn the different exits and entrances and the spawns and everything like that. Not the spawns, but just like where people might be coming from. It was basically a nightmare to play. We played Obliteration on that, and I think a game of CTF. And because of the nature of those games, it meant everything was going through that wood chipper. Whereas I think it would actually probably be a better map for Conquest, but I can imagine on Rush with that bit's going to be a nightmare. It would probably be quite fun, but it's going to be the type of thing where you can lose a bunch of lives just spawning on your teammates and getting killed. I mean, that's what was happening. I was spawning on teammates and getting killed as I spawned over and over and over again. Admittedly, I should have then just spawned at my base, but you know what it's like. And then the last one is Dragon Pass, which I believe is a remake of Dragon Valley from Battlefield 2, which I never played. I never played Battlefield 2 on PC, but it's like a classic map. Quite a big, rangy green map, more of an open map with vehicles, kind of undulating terrain. It's nothing is specialised as we've seen in some of the cooler maps in Battlefield 3 and 4. It feels just like a big open space. It's fine. I mean, it's going to be one of those ones again that will take on more personality as you play it more, but it didn't seem to have any massive standout points. A lot of like one-story huts, some very sort of low hills, a bit of cover here and there, plenty of open space. Just like a room to play Battlefield in, really. Nothing, no like big set pieces. And from what I could work out, and it does seem to be the case, there was no levolution in any of them. I hate even saying that word, but there was nothing to write home about. There's some subtle stuff apparently with like there's a mist in the jungle level, but there was nothing. You know, you're not seeing any fucking downballs shattering and water going everywhere in any of these levels. So I was a little bit underwhelmed by it, but it was fine. I mean, it's four new maps. They're fine spaces, but they don't really have the same sort of theme as some of the best. What do you call it? The best Battlefield 3 maps. You know, everything was themed, doesn't it? And this doesn't really feel like that. But so I can kind of see why they were giving it away for free, like Back to Karkland or whatever it was in Battlefield 3.
Yeah.
So it's fine. They're fine, but they're not classics.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll play them before next week, and I'll speak about them again. So, if I can play Battlefield, because it's I thought the kicking back to the dashboard thing was only on Xbox One. But,
no, definitely on PS4. Although I haven't played it today, and it's installed an update. I noticed on my PS4. Must say that about PS4 as well. It does updates on its own without you asking it to, and they're just there installed for you. So that's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. But yeah, batter's annoying. They announced today or yesterday that they're going to drop absolutely everything and get it fixed before working on more DLC, which seems like the logical thing they should have done from the get-go anyway. But it's nice that they finally actually said something about it.
They really needed
pretending,
to.
pretending that it's all fucking fine, which it really, patently isn't. Okay, well that was my number 4.
Okay, well then my number 4 is Killzone. Should we do Killzone now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I played some Killzone today. Played probably the first 4 levels, I think, first 4 chapters of the campaign. I haven't played any multiplayer yet, and I mean, the thing that strikes you first when you first play Killzone Shadowfall is how fucking good it looks. I mean, it's absolutely outstanding. It looks amazing. The lighting, the detail, the massive sprawling cityscapes in front of you. They're not interactive necessarily, but they're like just amazing, almost cinematic scenes that are sprawling out in front of you. They're incredible. But then the game itself is strange. It's not really like other Killzone games. It's, Killzone 2... Killzone 1 was like a 4-player co-op game, kind of a strange game. Killzone 2 was very much like in with a... you're sort of hunkering down with a kind of army, all about everything felt heavy and weighty. Killzone 3, similar to that, but a bit more kind of actiony and set-piece based. This is definitely kind of been looking at games like Far Cry, I think. It seems to be every chapter puts you in a level, gives you objectives around that level. It's like an open space, and then you go and tackle those objectives in whichever order you see fit, and kind of negotiate the terrain as you would. It's slightly in a slightly stealthier manner than other Killzone games. Certainly in the first proper level of the game, the game opens with like a kind of flashback thing, but then after that, the first proper open level. I mean, I'm kind of liking it, but it's not really doing a massive amount for me. I enjoyed that level. The level after that I thought was sort of terrible. It's on a space station, and it involves like a lot of picking up weird keys and putting them in things, and then a bit that was like Frogger. I don't know. Killzone for me is a game that's always a lot of it. There's a lot wrong with Killzone. The characters are dumb. It's a bit too serious. But one thing it just does combat, right? And then I don't want to be playing a Killzone game where I'm pissing about trying to find how to open doors and things. Just give me combat. But it does seem like that's what's happening afterwards. The level after that is definitely that. And when it does that, I mean, it's sort of you can't touch the way it looks. It looks ridiculous. The guns feel nice and heavy. The enemies are satisfying to shoot. The AI is all right. I'll keep playing it. I've probably got more to add, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
I bailed on it earlier today. I got to that level you were talking about where you're flying around the space station, and it is ropey as anything.
That's crap. I mean, it's crap, that level.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, what am I doing? And I got lost. There's one thing about the HUD that's really, really confusing. If you want to bring up an objective marker, it's a tiny orange circle, and the game's so vibrant that you often look like you press the button and you can't see anything because it's stupid.
Very much so.
But that level was it was boring me, and I got stuck, so I just turned it off. But up until then, I was kind of liking it. The way it opens in the first the first mission, which is 10-15 minutes long, there were a couple of really neat things I've never seen done before, all in the all to the service of the characters. I was like, oh, that's a really nice little trick to try and inform you about either the character you're playing or something. I won't reveal what they are, but really nice. I was like, okay, this is doing things that I haven't done before. But that was immediately before I started following somebody, and it's almost as if first-person shooters now have to have that, because it's supposed to serve as some kind of tutorial, even though you don't learn anything apart from how to walk behind somebody. But if that's the excuse they'd use, it's a sort of, it's to get you into the flow of the combat. So I'm just, hardcore players should be able to just skip past it, because it's so slow. It's a really slow opening, because after that there is a stealthy bit. Yeah, you want to just shoot things, and it sort of doesn't let you do that for a little while. The owl device that you have this little sort of AI droid that comes and helps you. It's very unlike COD. Because COD has devices that you use, but they're only ever to kill people. This, you can hack alarms with it, you can create shields, and it serves as a zip line. When you were sort of likening it to Far Cry, the game I kept thinking about, especially on the second or the third level, is Halo. I just felt like the spectre of Halo was hanging over it. It looks like Halo when you were out in this wide sort of forest area and there was all these things flying around, and it's as open, but it's just not as guided, and I just didn't feel the way I do when I was playing Halo. So, for example, I just started flying around on this zip line, and I'd constantly land on places where no one, clearly they hadn't expected anyone to try and land on. So I'd have to suicide or restart, and I kept doing that a lot because it's open, and you think, oh, I'm going to explore a bit, but it's not meant to be explored. So that's kind of curious. I enjoy the shooting's better than I think they really nailed it in the Vita Killzone that came out a few months ago. So I think this is an extension of that. It's superior just to the way it feels than the other Killzone games. It's good. Once I've gotten used to it, there's 2 4-tiered menus, one on the touchpad and one on the D-pad, and that initially is quite confusing because it's like up, down, left, right on both of them. It does different things. The spotting device, it keeps coming up. Press right on the D-pad to highlight things nearby. I did that all the time and it never did anything. It never
you have to hold it.
Oh, do you?
You have to hold it and then it sends out.
Oh no, yeah, and it holds out like a beacon thing.
Yeah.
But what does it highlight?
It'll put an enemy that's in your vicinity. It'll turn them gold and you can see them through a wall.
Okay, I must have never been that close to an enemy, because that's the thing. The opening of the game, there's not really that many enemies around.
No, there's not.
But yeah, that kind of felt like a lesser sort of Halo riff. So yeah, I was enjoying it, but it just seems a bit muddled at the moment. Maybe it does look ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, this is truly. I mean, it looks. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that that was happening on my TV. But yeah, so with the campaign, I'm looking for. I will play it. I will say this already: it's better than Battlefield 4. If you want a first-person shooter campaign,
oh fuck yeah!
But this is like already better, and I'd say it's not a brilliant COD this year. It's passable at times. Pretty good, but if this sort of raises its game in any significant
the level
manner,
after the level you're on is way better, way better. It's the one that you've seen in the initial demo, where you come into the city and the bomb goes off. It's just it's nothing you've not seen before, but it looks the shit, and it's just a lot of shooting, a lot of noise. That's what I kind of want. That's why I want Killzone to be loud, heavy, looks great. So when I've got a feeling it's going to be a bit more stealthy again, which is fine, but I don't think the stealth. It doesn't feel like the stealth's been. Doesn't really feel like you can be stealthy. It just wants you to be stealthy, if that makes any sense. But I'm definitely going to persevere with it. I mean, when it comes to a new console, anything that looks like that, I'm going to stick with, because basically I'm a moron. We've established this many times, and good. At the beginning, though, I must say you can tell sometimes. Like the way I see these things is different now. The beginning of the game you play is yourself as a kid and you're with your dad, and the way your dad speaks to you is like they needed a couple more passes on the dialogue on that stuff, because it was like your dad was a stranger, and it was kind of sucking me out of the story, and then after that I could barely follow what the hell's going on in the story. It seems to be like a bunch of fractured missions, and I don't know, the overall, I've always quite liked the overarching story of Killzone, the kind of, modern take World War II type thing, the fact they're Dutch and they were occupied and all that sort of stuff. The developers, that is, it kind of, I enjoy that being translated into a sci-fi game in a very simple good versus evil sort of way, and it seems like there's going to be some reasonably interesting stuff there, but listening to people talk is pretty fucking dull.
Yeah. Shit, you said that you play as yourself as a kid in the beginning, which I wasn't going to mention because...
I think that's fairly well known.
Okay. I didn't know that. So when you get handed a gun and then you don't... Because I thought I was crouching and this guy gives you a gun and you're like, okay, here we go. And then you start walking like, oh fuck, I'm a child. I was like, that was a really neat way of telling you were a child rather than it going, hey, my son, how are you doing? Which most games would fucking do. It was actually... I was like, that's clever. And I also liked it. There's a next bit where you're hiding with these two guys and you're just kind of waiting. And I think I'm pretty sure the way to trigger the mission is to behave like a child and kind of wander out, because I was like, I want to see, I can't see anything. I want to go and look out. And then the mission didn't move on until then. I was like, those two things. I was like, this is good. This is actually tiny little gameplay elements that are in service of character. I was like, that's great. So I don't know what I think about it at the moment. I'm enjoying it at the same time as thinking it's quite muddled. You haven't played multiplayer?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay, I've played about 5 games and it's basically really, really great.
Yeah.
It's slower than Call of Duty, but the maps are kind of similar. They're mirrored, or they seem to be mirrored, but they're bigger. It's just, I was having an absolute blast. It's a properly legitimate. I like Killzone 3 online, especially with the wand and the nunchuck on PS3, but this seems like it's a legitimate alternative to Call of Duty, and it's better, I think. COD's good this year. It's not great. This, I was absolutely adoring it. It's got everything's simple and easy to sort of, with regard to loadouts and perks and stuff like that. It's slower, but I think they've got the balance right. There's only 2 things that are wrong with it. I can't remember what the first one was. One thing that's definitely wrong is that there's an input delay on reloads, and I think it happens in the campaign as well. If you fire and then within a second press reload, it doesn't do anything. So you have to press it twice. That means you can't have really fast-paced battles, and that's initially quite frustrating. It's something either they'll fix or you'll get used to. Either way, there was another thing. What was wrong with it? It was a very minor problem, but by and large, I just think it's great. And it's truly, if you're thinking about getting Call of Duty as well, don't bother. This will see you right. It's really fucking good so far. 5 games in.
I'm going to try the multiplayer, definitely.
Well, let me know and I'll come on with you because I was loving it. Loving it.
Oh, well, that's good. Right, I have no idea where we are with numbers. This is a nightmare.
Yep, okay. My number 3 is Knack. We have spoken about that. Now, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Need for Speed Rivals.
Oh, I haven't played that.
Okay. Need for Speed Rivals, my number 3. This was probably the game I was most looking forward to on PS4, being such a fan of Hot Pursuit and such a fan of Most Wanted. And yeah, it's another kind of baffling game. I was completely confused by it for a long period of time. Okay, Need for Speed Rivals, game starts, you can pick either the cops or the races. You can switch between them in the menu at any time. I started as races, but I played most of my time as a cop. And what that means is you get dropped into the world, Redview County, which is basically just a huge, not huge, but a decently sized area of windy roads. There's no city, it's just windy roads. And within that world, there'll be 5 other real-world players, and then a bunch of AI racers, if you're playing as a cop, this is. A bunch of AI cops and racers fucking about doing their own thing. From there, you can just drive about, find racers, flash your lights, and get into a chase. The whole game's about chases, really, especially as a cop. You can just do that happily, but also from your menu you'll have assignments, which is basically how you progress through the story, campaign, whatever. And there'll be stuff like get 2 busts. They're quite simple. They're in other games they'd just be challenges, but they seem to be the central thing you have to do. But like, get 2 busts, hit 2 drivers from the side, and use your kit, because it's like Hot Pursuit. You've got kit like spike strips and EMP blasts. Use them once, and then you do all that, and then you go back to your base, and then you can go to the next level, get a new car and whatnot. But the real fun of the game is, as a cop anyway, is just driving about and getting yourself into these crazy chases. And when you get into some of them, they can be incredibly exciting, because it can be a situation where, okay, so the races in the world, they'll have a number over their head, which is their heat level. And the higher it is, they're either already being chased by other cops, or they tend to, I think when they're AI, they also tend to be better or whatever. And you get more speed points. The game's in-game currency for arresting a guy with a higher heat level, of course. So you find someone, say, at level 4, hit the lights, start chasing them. It's got that classic Need for Speed / Burnout handling, feels great for the most part. Some frame rate issues, I'll talk about them in a minute. But anyway, so you're chasing, and then more AI cops will turn up, and then maybe another cop will turn up, but that's a real player. And then you'll turn around the corner, and then there'll be 2 real racers, and they've joined it, and then you just turn into this fucking epic chase across the city, trying to take down these guys. Choppers come in, and then the weather changes, and there's lightning, and particles are going everywhere, and the wind's rushing in. You go around the corners, waves crashing over the thing, and it's like what they had in Hot Pursuit, but ramped up to a ludicrous level. And when it's like that, it's fucking great. I mean, it's fucking great. So exciting. Really is. It took me a while to work out that was kind of the major part of the game, and the actual story stuff. I call it story. There is actually a story, but that stuff wasn't as important. It is very muddled in that respect. It feels like they kind of got 60 to 70% through what they wanted to do and realised they didn't have any more time, so they just made sure what they had was as good as it possibly could be, instead of trying to stretch themselves too thin. That is what it feels like to me. But yeah, when it's like that, God, it's great. And apparently I've only played as a racer a bit, but the difference when you're a racer is the event, obviously you can activate events which are actually races. And unlike, say, GTA, where you'll be in the open world, but you'll go off and do a mission, and that will be separate to the open world. Here, it just spawns the race into the world, so you can be having a race against AI or even a head-to-head with another person, and that's in the same world as everybody else. So the other players can suddenly stumble across that, find that, and interact with it as well. So it doesn't message that very well, but when it happens, that's also amazing. And when you're a racer, you can basically, if you get busted or taken down by the cops, you lose all your speed points for that run. So it's a real risk-reward thing. How long do you stay out before you go back to your hideout, trying to rack up as much speed points as possible, get your heat level higher to get more speed points, and then fucking try and dodge all the cops and everything to try and get back to the base to bank your speed points and do upgrades, buy new cars and whatnot. So I think that's actually going to be where the game really excels. But I have enjoyed just driving around as a cop. And I haven't actually talked about remote play on PS4 at all, which works pretty damn well, very well, in fact, for the most part. Isn't really suitable for some games. I've tried it on almost every game. FIFA, it's not really suitable. I'll talk about FIFA later. Battlefield, it's doesn't really work, mainly because you've only got 2 shoulder buttons, and it puts the other shoulder buttons on the top right and top left of the rear touchpad, which for many games is impossible. But for Need for Speed, the only stuff on the L1 and R1 are, I can't remember what R1 does, and L1 is just put your lights on. So, piece of piss, you can use the rear touchpad for that, no problem. And then you've got accelerate and brake just on your Vita shoulder buttons, and it works great on remote play. So I've been playing a ton of it on remote play as well, and it's really cool. Yeah, only issue with it really, apart from it being muddled, is the frame rate's not very solid. It's 30 frames anyway. It would have been cool if it was 60, because it would have had that real burnout smoothness to it. But it does dip quite a lot when you come around corners, and it just takes away some of the slickness. Apparently they're patching that, so it's going to stay locked out at 30, which will make a real difference, because it is noticeable. It's not like a massive slowdown, but it's just enough so it feels a bit, I don't know, almost a little bit cheaper than it should be, and it takes you out of the game a little bit.
How does it compare to the Criterion game?
It feels like you can tell that a lot of the same people have worked on it, because it doesn't feel like something like Arkham Origins where they're trying to do what those other guys are doing. You can tell that a lot of it has that pedigree, but it just doesn't have quite that level of polish. But it's not, it doesn't feel like they're just trying to do the work of other people. It definitely feels like the guys that make those games are making this game. I know the game director is the guy who was the game director on Most Wanted. Craig Sullivan, I think his name is, a guy I met a couple of times over the years, and I know Ghost UK is just based in Guildford. I'm pretty sure they're in EA's giant office in Guildford, so I think it's just it's almost a rebranding exercise as much as anything else.
I was going to say, because Criterion are at EA HQ,
They
aren't
are,
they?
yeah. Criterion still exists, but I think it's a skeleton staff of like 20 people, if that, now. And I'm pretty sure that Ghost UK is in the same place where they were. So
Right.
I'm not entirely sure the structural stuff going on there. I'd be interested to find out. But yeah, like I say, it doesn't feel like a Criterion product, but it feels like Criterion people have made it.
Okay, well, I may speak about that next week, but I'm kind of saving it for Christmas because I always play those to fucking hell over Christmas.
You'll like it a lot.
I'm sure I will.
But yeah, drop me a line when you're confused by it, and I'll explain what's going on.
Is that definitely going to happen?
It's not definitely going to happen because it will be confusing, but you have just heard me talk about it there, so you probably got a better idea. It's one of those games where you just need someone to tell you what's going on for 2 minutes. I had to go online and look on forums just to make sure, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, it makes sense now. Because it is a bit baffling, especially when you're caught, because the radio is constantly going at you, but it's all for nothing. It never shuts up, but it feels like you should be responding to things and listening to what they're saying and going to places, but you can't. You can't interact with the radio in any way. You can't like set a marker for what they say. It's just noise. So
can you turn it off?
No, it's a nightmare. If you turn off the subtitles, it doesn't. It kind of fades into the background.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them patching that, to be honest.
If you're a racer, can you do you have the spike strips and the tools that you had in Hot Pursuit?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Wicked. Oh, fuck! I can't wait to play this.
Yeah. You can get all that stuff. But the cops have more of it, I think, and you can set up roadblocks and things as a cop.
Oh, because I missed that in Most Wanted.
One thing you're going to have to. One thing that I don't think is going to work very well is if you want to get into a game with a bunch of friends and do things together. It doesn't really have that because the world's big and there's not enough people in it. It could have really benefited from being 12 players. It's just you sort of mentally treat it like a single player game, and we could be in the same world. I'm sure if we were both playing it, we could get into the same world easily, but we'd either have to make specific arrangements to meet up and then play from there, or just happen upon each other, which, as we're doing events and whatnot. So be interested to play it like that, actually. But, of course, it's got all the speed cameras and all that sort of, constant metagame stuff going on, that classic Need for Speed Burnout stuff going on the whole time, and speed walls and all that sort of stuff, autolog. That's all in there. Yeah, it's fucking good. It's very, very fun.
All right, good. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, my number 2 is FIFA 14 on the Xbox One. I assume you played it on PS4.
I have played it on PS4 a lot. It is my number 1, in fact, but I'll switch them round and do it now with you.
All right, go on then. What do you reckon?
Right, so I enjoy it a lot. It looks nice. I have issues with it, though. I have issues with it because it feels like the players don't know what they're doing quite as much as they did in the current / last gen version of the game. It feels a bit more like how they used to feel in 13 and 12 to me. Sometimes they're sliding about in the pitch, looking in the wrong direction. But another part of it is like the first touch is quite different to how it was in the current gen version. The way the ball physics works, I think I can say 60 to 70% of it is me having to relearn that because it does feel quite different, and 30% of it is it not quite being as slick. It's finalised as a game that they've been iterating on specifically for years and years and years. But I will take those irritations for what it does bring to the table, which are. There's much better graphics, obviously. Not incredibly so, but like you said last week, in certain replays, it looks ridiculous. And scored some amazing goals. Feels nice on the pad. I love all the wide shots of the stadium and stuff like that. As a football nerd, all that stuff works really well for me. And it's still FIFA. It's still fun. Getting online's a piece of piss. Seasons mode, getting there straight away. Ultimate Team. And yeah, it's just an easy game just to stick on, but it does feel like I'm having to relearn it somewhat.
Okay. Oh, well, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, yeah, it's definitely. I still think it's a better game. A mate came down at the weekend and we played a fuckload of it. I mean, we played a hell of a lot. We were just playing seasons. Yeah. Are you getting on PS4? I don't know if you're getting this message. It kept happening. You join a seasons game, says we found an opponent, and then it loads and it loads. And this is normally after it's just downloaded the latest squad for your.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
For your team, yeah. It comes up with a message and it says we've basically cancelled the match.
Yeah.
We noticed that your squads don't match. And we'll determine later if you were using hacked settings.
Yeah.
It's like, first off, don't call me a cunt in my own living room. Second of all, how on earth are you going to tell me that I've got 40 hacked settings, like a nanosecond after you've downloaded it to my console or whatever? What is that all about? That kept happening. I mean, every other time we tried to join a game, your squads don't match.
Anyone who's watching my stream this evening, which was admittedly only a few people, but we still had some fun, saw that kept happening. If it wasn't for the fact you can get into a match so fast in FIFA, it would be a real nightmare. Imagine if that was in Pro Evo and it takes another 25 minutes to get the next match, but you can get back in a match within about 10 seconds, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, the same thing kept happening to me.
Oh, it is okay. I didn't know if it was doing it on PS4, but yeah, okay. Because we played so much, if you do anything too much, you're going to start to notice patterns in it. So I don't know whether this is bullshit. And I think I may have mentioned this last week, but we started to notice that it seems very much like it's a game of two halves. I think I pretty much said exactly that. It seems like one team has all of the chances in the first half, and then the other team has all of the chances in the second half. And if you go down in the first half and you've been peppering them the whole time, the chances of you coming back is quite slim. I don't know. We just had too many games where it seemed like the odds were against us, and then we kind of breezed to victory in the second half, or the other way around.
I've been having so many games. Again, if you watch the stream tonight, I played, I think, 5 or 6 games, and that I haven't noticed that pattern, so I don't think I've played it enough, but I was hammering everybody, and I lost all but one game. I was hammering them. It was an absolute nightmare. Like, at one point, even, I got put through on goal. I was 1-0 down. I got put through on goal with Neymar as Barcelona. I scored, but the ref pulled it back and gave me a penalty, and I missed the penalty. And at that point, this was after missing about 12 one-on-ones, hitting the post, hitting the bar, and then they go up the other end with one attack, high through ball, shit header, lose 1-0. It was... The only reason I didn't launch my pad into it all, as someone on the stream actually said that he would have done it if it had been happening to him, is because people were watching me and I was having fun chatting with them while I was doing it. But I am worried that it's a bit more scripted than the last one or something. So yeah, there's something.
But it felt like too many games felt predetermined. It's like we were absolutely hammering someone, and then the second half they just score a cheeky shit goal. Yeah. It seems like it's split in half, and there's sort of the odds are changed between the teams at half time. But I'm going to play it some more because I still do rate it. The online matchmaking tiers are much more specific than they were. So when I said last week I keep getting put against Real Madrid, it's because I choose Man City. Man City have been my team for years. Yeah. I think I only picked them to wind you up, didn't I, or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about football. I have no reason to pick any team, but I think that's probably why. Because everyone's, you support Man City. I don't know. I don't even know who Man City are. Don't even ask me. I know some of their names because I play it on FIFA. But I started playing as German yellow tops.
Borussia Dortmund.
Borussia Dortmund, yeah, that's who we were using at the weekend. And you get matchmake. It matchmakes you with all sorts of different teams. So
it's nice.
I don't know whether
everyone just plays Real Madrid, and it's a nightmare.
Who do you pick?
I was picking different teams. I was Man United, Bayern Munich, Barca this evening. Just everyone's Real Madrid.
Okay, that's weird because Borussia Dortmund are like they're in the same sort of, their stats are similarly high.
Yeah.
But we kept getting put with teams that weren't quite at the sort of level of Real Madrid. So I don't know. The matchmaking tiers are curious. I don't really get them, but it's a good game, I dare say.
I'll be playing it all year. I've no doubt about that. But yeah, there are little issues here and there. But I think if I was winning all those games online, those issues wouldn't really be as much of a problem. But when it flows and it looks as good as it can look, and the physics all work, and the ball looks so real, that's next gen, maybe. That's fucking next gen.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was my number 2.
That was my number 1. This is so broken.
I know. What's your number 2 then?
My number 2 is Resogun, which we need to talk about. So should we do that now?
Yes, Resogun was my number 5, so yeah, let's do it.
All right, so Resogun, you and I actually played some of this. Was that today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday. Straight off the bat, it doesn't really work in co-op, don't bother. But in single player, I absolutely fucking love Resogun. Absolutely love it. If you don't know what it is the kind of side-scrolling twin-stick shoot 'em up from Housemarque, guys that did Super Stardust, did Dead Nation, did Outland, or that platform game that was like had that Ikaruga mechanic. But anyway, this is their kind of Defender type clone. The game it's a strange one because it doesn't explain itself. Another baffling game, doesn't explain itself very well. But thankfully, I'd actually watched a Giant Bomb quick look on it, which explained exactly how it all worked before I started playing, which I think was a huge help. So you look at it and you can see what you're doing. Move left and right around this kind of circular world. Enemies come, you shoot them by pressing left or right on a stick. You can only fire left or right. That's easy enough. But then there's humans, little green humans in boxes, and you don't know why they're there, and it's all very confusing. But what actually happens is the game will say, keepers detected, and then a bunch of glowing green enemies will come on the screen. Kill them, that will unlock one of the humans, he'll fall out of his box, you have to go and pick him up Defender style, and then get him through a green arrowed gate, and then you'll get either points or some sort of like slight power-up. Everything you shoot adds to your multiplier. And if you don't shoot anything for a second, this is not an uncommon system. If you don't shoot anything for a second or two, you lose your multiplier. So yeah, you also keep your multiplier going by picking up men and putting them through the thing. So the whole game is about maintaining your multiplier. And to do that, what you're going to really need to do, and this is the thing the game should explain, probably more so than even the humans thing, it really should explain that the key to playing Resogun is to use boost on L1, which is also the key to Super Stardust. But if you hadn't played Super Stardust, you wouldn't know that. Now, boost allows you to plow through enemies, killing them. And then when you let go of it, you do a small area of effect attack, which will shatter anything around you. And so you can keep going, and then it will recharge. So you can effectively use it quite a lot as an attack. It also makes you invincible when you boost. So the game is actually structured, all the design of the enemy waves, a lot of them are structured to actually boost through them. So you'll be shooting, getting your multiplier up, and you can see just around the corner, you're not going to be able to shoot them in time before your multiplier goes. So you quickly boost, let go, kill a bunch of guys, keep going. And through watching a couple of videos of how to do this and just playing quite a lot of it, I've actually managed to get a pretty fucking good score. I'm in the top, I think, just in the top 3,000 in the world now on the experience level. So I'm happy with that. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of people on the leaderboard, so I'm happy to be in that position, and I just fucking love it. It's so fun. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels as much as anything else. So responsive, and the feel of all the enemies shattering and falling into those like waves of voxels looks amazing. And finally, I love the music and stuff. Finally, in that, it's an absolute winner for remote play. This is the one that's best on remote play. Looks amazing on remote play, plays beautifully. I just played probably 50% of my time on the Vita in the other room. So yeah, I fucking love it, mate.
Okay, well, I will continue to play. It's free on PS Plus. My opinion of it is not massively high at the moment. I've played it for, it does do a terrible job of explaining what it is. My first hour, I was like, this is appalling. I mean, it says, here's what the buttons do. And it's like, but that doesn't even, I mean, the humans and the boxes and nothing was explained, and it was really winding me up. I managed to find my feet after about an hour, but I still, I've played it for over 3 hours, and it hasn't grabbed me yet. For a shooter, that's really quite a big problem. You explained a few things to me which I didn't know, like the boost, how important the boost mechanic is and stuff like that. But it's leaving me a little bit cold. I know I'd be really quite pissed off if I'd have paid, how much is it meant to be? 12 quid?
12 quid, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be absolutely delighted to pay 12 quid for it.
Yeah, it leaves me really, really cold. I mean, and some of the bosses are just way too reminiscent of bosses in Ikaruga in particular. But boss battles, the first couple, I was like, I've definitely done this boss. I kind of feel about it the way I felt about that the grasshopper shooter that everyone loved.
Fair enough. Cinemora.
Cinemora. I was like I lost when that got announced. I couldn't sleep because I was so excited for it, and then I played it and I was like, something about it is just off. So it's fine. It's a nice freebie. It's okay. It just doesn't speak to me. When the problem with me is that if I'm going to sit down and play a shooter, I've got a neglected bunch of Japanese cave shooters from the Xbox 360 that I could be playing them. That's fair. It's a nice freebie, but something about it just leaves me ice cold, and I don't quite know what it is.
Well, hopefully, if you can get into the point where you can rack up 6 million on the first level. There's a very specific way to play the game in order to get that sort of score, which is basically playing it not like you play any other shooter. Because when we were playing co-op, I was watching you play. It's when I realised that you hadn't been using the boost, and it's fair because it doesn't tell you to. And you were dodging bullets in a classic, in the way that you would in any the genre, and you were doing it way better than I could. You were kind of dancing in between bullets. I'm not very good at doing that. But that's because in that exact situation, Resogun, you just boost through them to get to the other side, get your boost back the other way. Like, you don't. It's less about that than, there are moments where you have to be dancing and very agile, but it's much better for someone a bit more cat-handed like me. But I would be interested if you do get to the point where you play it as it's intended and still leaving you cold and whatever, just. That's a shame, because it's a shame that a game that I thought you'd love doesn't grab you. But hopefully we'll at least get to that point with it. But I know for me, I'm going to be playing this for the long haul. I love it.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'll fall in love with it over time. But,
that'd be wicked if you did, but you can't. There's some it doesn't click. It doesn't click. It definitely helped that I watched that. I watched the video explaining how it worked before the game ever came out, and then within a couple of days, I watched a video on. I think it was on Rollmark actually. Someone who's really good at it posted a video of their first level run. They got like 11 million on the first level, and I was like, that's what I need to be doing, and. From then, I think before I'd watched that video, my top score was 3 million, and then immediately I went on and played it that day, and I got 19 million. That was just before we played, and I could have easily got more. I actually killed myself in order to play co-op with you. But then the game after that, I've got 29 million now. So I think it's corking, mate. I just want to play it now.
Okay, I haven't tried remote play either. I'll try that. So blah blah. Okay, right. Well, my number one then is Forza Motorsport 5, aka Forza Motorsport 5. I don't know where the T came from, but that's what people call it.
In Italy, isn't it?
Is that right?
Yeah.
What is Forza?
What does it mean? It's what you say, like, it means like, in French you say like allez, like allez les bleus,
right?
Like, come on, like, okay. Let's go.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So Forza Turi means I think come on the Blues in football. So yeah, okay. Forza Motorsport's like Forza Motorsport. I don't know. I think they just wanted something that sounded Italian, so it sounded like Gran Turismo.
All right, okay. I didn't realise it was called Forza.
There you go. Fucking bringing their knowledge for once. It's probably wrong.
Yeah, I'll go and look that up. Anyway, Forza Motorsport 5 on the Xbox One. This is not, to my disappointment, I knew it wasn't, but it's not Forza Horizon. I loved Forza Horizon so much. So it was kind of, if your introduction to the series was Forza Horizon, this is not that. So be aware. I still remember when I turned on Forza Motorsport 4 for the first time and was treated to an introduction by Jeremy Clarkson, and I recoiled in horror. I still remember what he said. You and I are a dying breed, or something to that note. And I was just like, I recalled in horror. Anyway, basically, to cut a long story short, the Top Gear guys, all three of them are involved in Forza 5, so you'll hear them constantly throughout the game, and some of them you can't skip. So I hope you like Top Gear. I don't. There's been a lot of talk about how much of a smaller package this is than Forza 4, and it is. It's difficult though, because a friend of mine, a friend of ours, who's he's freely admitted on many occasions that even if the Xbox One only had Forza on it, he'd still buy the console. Yeah. So he's something of a Forza fan. He feels the same way that I do about the fact that there's less cars. There's less than half the number of cars there was in Forza 4, but it's gotten rid of a lot of clutter, because a lot of the cars, there was like different variations of the same car, and he feels the same way that I do. It's just like it's kind of siphoned off a lot of fucking unnecessary crap. Right. If you're a complete and utter dedicated car enthusiast, that's going to probably annoy you. But for me, I'm just like, I don't need 5 fucking Lamborghinis or whatever. I know
what you're saying.
Yeah, I thought that was unnecessary. The fact that there's less tracks, I mean, there was 20 odd in Forza 4, and there's only 14 or so in this, which is a lot less, because they do keep coming up, and that's a problem. The career is still based around credits, but it's more open. There's all these different. You can pick a sort of events based on rally cars or minis or sort of slightly faster. It's still. I mean, there's also been a lot of talk about microtransactions. I don't think microtransactions should be allowed in a game like this. But then at the same time, it's like there's microtransactions now in Battlefield. all of the games like this, especially driving games, they're about the grind. And if you're not about the grind, I'm not entirely sure why you're playing them. But then again, taking advantage of those people shouldn't be allowed either. So it's difficult. Cutting corners in Forza is like cutting out chunks of the game because you want the reward of actually leveling up and stuff like that. Also, when you level up to a different driving level in Forza 5, you don't get free cars anymore. So you used to always get a free car. So you have less cars in general.
Right.
The first thing you notice when you turn it on is the visuals, obviously. But I mean, there's a good-looking driving game. You know, there's something underwhelming that even when it's on a new piece of hardware, it's driving games always look good. That's what they're there for. I'm understanding it. It looks eye-popping, but the things that really wowed me were tiny little details that they didn't have to bother putting in. Especially when you see people in the crowd, like there's periodically you'll see like somebody waving a flag, and the person and the flag, you're like, whoa, that looks like a real person standing there. So the tiny details that they didn't perhaps because the cars look great, the sunsets look amazing, all the stuff that you expect looks great, but there's little details in it that you don't necessarily expect. This is the only game to date on the Xbox One that's used the rumble in the triggers to any significant. I mean, I'm almost certain that this feature is just for driving games because I think there's a mild rumble when you play Battlefield, but I hadn't really noticed any if there is. But here, it's at first, as somebody who doesn't drive, I was kind of unaware of what I was being told, but it basically just tells you when you're starting to lose grip on the road.
Okay.
So it's actually it's more about muscle memory, though. I found myself reacting to it subconsciously without actually saying, without thinking about it. But it's really neat. It does actually add another layer to the game, which is really great. And the driver tile, I assume you've heard about the driver tile technology. That's really great. I like to think that it's going to influence driving games from here on out because it's so much better. The fact that you've got this sort of approximation of people driving around with you constantly. You increase your earnings if you pick harder. There's no AI, so if you increase every time you go into a race, you can have harder driver tires. But you want to be with your friends most of the time, and it is a little bit weird because sometimes they make really bizarre mistakes that you are certain they would never have done in real life.
Right.
That's curious. I'd like to know how it works. Whether they just take specific things that have happened to you in specific races and then put them up onto the cloud. I'm not entirely sure how it works. It is amazing though because I'll speak to friends and they'll be like, you fucker, you pipped me, you ran me off the road at the end and then just took me in. So you're racing with people even when you're not playing the game, which is really, really quite amazing. And I was saying to a friend, how do you keep taking that corner so well on that track? And it's great. This should be in all racing games going forward. It doesn't feel like something that's specific to one edition of Forza. Hopefully, it's going to sort of appear in other games in some form as well. There's still no weather. There's no rain either. As good as the most recent F1 game, driving on the wet it felt like they were starting to master that system, and there's nothing. You don't drive at night or anything. It's always sunny. It's always nice looking, so it just feels But Forza's a really, really great game. It's really accessible and really, really. There's something pleasing. I mean, its relationship to cars or its treatment of cars, especially when you're sort of going in that first person sort of mode, looking around the interior of a car. It's pornographic, really. But there's something about the sort of the tone of it. It's just accessible. It's nice. It's like a Sunday afternoon drive, I guess. I don't drive, but it's highly recommended. I think the less tracks is a problem, but the less cars wasn't really a problem for me. And it is, if you want to show off your Xbox One, it's up there with Ryse as a hell of a good looking game, and it's still fun. I mean, played some online, really good. It's what do you want?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like Forza apart from Horizon, so I don't really care. But I'm sure it's very good. I've always thought they're very good. Yeah,
I admire them more than I can't get impassioned about it, but yeah.
And we learnt what Forza meant.
We did. I will check that now and prove you wrong or prove you right. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, well, thank you very, very much for listening to Chet and John's reassuringly infinite gaming playlist. Hopefully 2 young bucks will come up in the next few months to offer up an alternative podcast that's made by people who know when to shut the fuck up, unlike us. And we'll be like, we were those two once upon a time, and now look at us. Look at us now, fucking 1 hour 30 something deep into a podcast. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. Twitter, YouTube, check out our YouTube channel. That's worth doing because there is some stuff on there. And Guacamelee Kid?
Guacamelee Kid on Twitch, yeah.
On
I'll
Twitch.
tweet it out a few more times. John Denton. Yeah, like I said, I had nearly 50 people watching me play Knack, which all I could think about when it was happening, I know this is not a new phenomenon, people have been streaming forever, but all I could think about is what if they were in my house watching me play Knack? That would be fucking weird, and that's what's happening right now. So come and watch me play video games. I don't know why you'd want to, but people seem to, so, fucking do it.
All right, well, yeah, do that. Check out Twitter if you can be bothered. Why do that? But yeah, thank you very much. See you next week.
Peace.
What's it saying, my precious, my love?
It feels nice. It feels nice.